Have you been practicing your COVID-19 prevention control measures? Yes, protocols may have been relaxed, but COVID-19 is still among us. So we urge you to make health and safety your responsibility. Continue to wash your hands with soap or sanitize with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. We urge you to wear masks in public spaces such as banks, supermarkets, and restaurants. We also encourage you to take the available COVID-19 vaccines. Jamaica's safety is in your hands, so please, let's do all we can to safeguard it. I'm Theodore Henry. We continue our Jamaica Magazine program with a word of advice, followed by the news.
Without a doubt, tourism is Jamaica's #1 industry, and our dedicated workers are its greatest asset. Jamaica would not be the heartbeat of the world without you. As the industry rebounds from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, we truly need all hands on deck, yours included. Vaccination holds the hope for tourism's full recovery. In addition to COVID-19 protocols, it is the only comprehensive way to fight the pandemic and save lives. I am therefore urging every worker in the tourism and hospitality industry, in all the subsectors, including accommodation, attractions, entertainment, transportation, and craft, to do your part and get vaccinated. Do it for yourself, your family, your workplace, and your community. Do it for Jamaica, land we love. Stay safe. Get vaccinated.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, March 28, 2022. Give up the criminals. That's the call Prime Minister Andrew Holness is making to Jamaicans, urging citizens to cooperate with the security forces so the crime monster can be brought to heel.
If you have information, if you know what is happening, use the channels and get that information to the police. You will be protected. Your identity will be protected. You can do it anonymously. You can benefit from it. But at the end of the day, you would have played your part in making Jamaica a safer place.
Mr. Holness was speaking on Friday as he delivered a 3-bedroom house to a family in Orange Bay, Portland. The latest delivery falls under government's social housing program. Prime Minister Holness says 55 units have been completed, with 31 houses under active construction. The Ministry of Education will be expanding the use of metal detectors in public schools as a preventative measure to help curb violent altercations at learning institutions. Portfolio Minister Favour Williams made the announcement during a virtual press conference at her ministry on Friday. She says the ministry will be conducting a full audit of the extent to which metal detectors are already being used in public schools to identify any gaps relating to the provision and/or utilization of these devices.
Many of our schools have walk-through metal detectors. We as well directed our schools to begin utilizing, if they are not already do so, the metal detectors in our schools. Our records show that 36 schools were selected to benefit from the installation of walk-through metal detectors. 27 schools actually had the walk-through metal detectors installed prior to the COVID. And we only interrupted this because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The use of metal detectors to identify and prevent potential weapons from entering school compounds forms part of the ministry's response to several violent altercations occurring at schools since the start of the year, resulting in fatalities in 2 instances. The Education Minister is also encouraging principals and administrators to be vigilant and revisit the security and safety policy guidelines to help manage schools. In other education news, the minister says this year's Grade 6 Primary Exit Profile (PEP) students successfully completed the ability test component of the exam on Thursday, despite the odds. 35,923 students from public and private schools reportedly sat the test across 1,052 examination centers.
As we've done in the past, our schools provided special accommodations for our special needs students. That included giving extra time for the test, assigning readers or writers, prompters or shadows, giving preferential seating in the exam center, making allowance for breaks during the exam, giving interpreters to students whose first language is not English.
Minister Williams says provision was even made for hospitalized students to sit the exam with the help of parents, teachers, and administrators. 369 special accommodations requests were met. A $47 million Elim agro-processing plant has been donated to the Sydney Pagan Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics STEM Academy in St. Elizabeth to serve the school and wider farming community. The 2,200 square foot facility will allow farmers to turn their crops into chips and other products by baking and frying. It will also be used to transition some crops, such as breadfruit and sweet potato, into powders and flour. The agro-processing plant can also dry, mill, package, and store using its state-of-the-art equipment. Students pursuing agro-processing at Sydney Pagan will also have the opportunity to get NCTVET Level 3 certification. Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for St. Elizabeth Southwestern, Floyd Green, says linking agriculture, education, and technology is one of the best means of transforming lives.
Part of our vision for St. Elizabeth is to ensure that we have facilities of this nature in key locations that will reduce the sort of transportation costs to our farmers and that will give them the access to the storage and the processing they need to maximize the return on their investment.
During the official handing over ceremony, the Coconut Industry Board and CIG Agricultural Holdings signed agreements to use the facility to produce coconut oil and gluten-free flour, among other products. The facility was donated by the J. Ray and Nephew Limited Foundation following the closure of the Appleton Estates sugar factory in 2020. And finally, Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, is cautioning Jamaicans to remain vigilant about the lingering threat of COVID-19, which is still a pandemic as recognized by the World Health Organization. Warning that persons are still at risk of dying from COVID, Dr. Tufton is encouraging Jamaicans to get vaccinated.
Because COVID is still a threat, though the numbers are low, and we're happy for that, people still die from COVID each day.
Dr. Tufton also warns that while the measures have been discontinued under the Disaster Risk Management Act, several remain under the Public Health Enforcement Measures Order 2022, which is now in effect.
It's now an order under the Public Health and Quarantine Act legislation that prescribes an approach to managing or protecting yourself, and by extension, protecting your friends, family, the community.
Among the stipulations under this new order is that operators of any place to which the public has access, including businesses, places of worship, and restaurants, are to place hand-washing stations or sanitization equipment at the entrance and direct persons to use them. The order also requires persons to wear masks in enclosed public spaces. In addition, those who test positive for COVID are required to self-isolate, while travelers entering Jamaica are still mandated to present a negative COVID test. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
What a way you're full of our roots and culture. That was in Jamaica 60. Jamaica 60? What a piece of news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart going bust up.
Just in, the island of Jamaica is on the verge of celebrating its 60th year of independence.
A whole way of celebrating it. They say the people them, them come here, you know. But you see, when our people decide, say the other people them free paper, burn up. Them say if it's war, start it, whatever. We all collect medal, panta, medal.
The celebrations are slated to begin on January 1st, 2022. Organized by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. We have more in this report.
I am on site and planning activities are ablaze. Persons are advised to download the Reggae Jamaica app to know what it pre. Activities for the Jamaica 60 celebration.
I download the app to get the updates then.
Our farmers are the backbone of our economy and food security. As we celebrate them this April, we encourage new entrants to tap into this burgeoning sector.
Farming is a way of life, especially here in Jamaica. Today, an increasing number of young people are getting involved.
Back then, persons used to look down on agriculture based on the stigma that agriculture is for a particular group of persons. But I am proud to say that that stigma has been reduced significantly. So no longer is agriculture a last option. It's a primary option where persons are now interested in pursuing even studies at the master's level in agriculture.
Getting started in agriculture can be tricky, so there are a number of things new farmers need to be aware of.
For young persons who would like to get involved in agriculture, the first thing I would say to them, they have to first assess their interest. Agriculture is a very wide industry with different sectors, and so they first need to look at, do I have an interest in crop production or animal production?
Crop production is the process of growing produce for domestic and commercial purposes, whereas animal production is the technology applied to keeping animals for profit. You know, feeding, rearing, and breeding. That's just the basics. So for the next few minutes, we'll learn more about getting started in crop production.
We at RADA, and the field staff particularly, when we are engaged about young persons getting into farming, when they approach us, one of the main things we want to emphasize is about training. A lot of persons who want to venture into agriculture, and they see it as something that they can get into without getting that technical knowledge, because it's easy to go and get the land, prepare and sow the seeds and all of that. But there's a lot of other issues you have to consider. You have to consider the pest and the disease control. As you say, you have to look at the weather condition, you have to look at the type of crop. Different crop require different environmental conditions. Two major things we also emphasize to new entrant farmers is we look at the markets. Don't just jump into production without thinking about your market. I know it's sort of tempting for a lot of persons when prices are high and it look very nice, and you can get a lot of income, but that's not always the case. Because by the time you put in that crop, the price is usually, and the crop come in, the price is usually low. So we look at the market. And another thing, we look at the cost of production. A lot of new entrant farmers, they want to get into production without looking at what it costs to produce a crop. That is very important, because that is how you can determine if you are able to make a profit based on how you estimate your costs and your market price and all of that. So we emphasize the cost of production. So those are some of the things we emphasize to new entrant farmers.
So there are different options such as agro-processing that young persons can venture. So you don't have to be looking at agriculture as going in the sun, sweating. You can still do that practice. That's the traditional practice. But there are some contemporary practices that involves technology, such as hydroponics and aquaponics. And so young persons can look at that option as well. So don't picture a farmer as this person in dirty clothes, this person riding a donkey. Some of the farmers know they are driving the biggest vehicle you can think of, and they live in the best household that you can think of. Another thing that you need to do is to partner with RADA, in particularly the agri-linkages, to help you seek possible markets before you venture into the field of agriculture. And what you can also do is to do a SWOT analysis. When I say a SWOT analysis, once you identify your interest, You're going to be now looking at your strengths, assess the strengths. You're going to assess the weaknesses and how you can overcome them. You're going to look at the opportunities that exist. And you're now going to be looking at the threats. So one of your threats could be your, I wouldn't say competitor, because in agriculture, I don't want to give the impression that we are competing. We're all in this thing together. But there are some threats such as disaster. How can you bounce back, or how can you mitigate certain effects? So a SWOT analysis is very important when you're looking at agriculture as a young person.
With all that information in mind, get started with your research. Start farming, as you can help to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business by growing what we eat so we can eat what we grow.
I want to get rid of that stigma that is attached to agriculture. And I want persons to understand that if we don't have farmers, we won't have any people. So where there's no food, the people will perish. So look at agriculture as a business and not as a traditional, disregarded occupation. It's a very lucrative, very vibrant occupation that you should all think of.
I've made my tree legacy from the primary level all the way to university. You can get involved too. Plant a tree today and keep climate change away.
Register your alma mater for the Forestry Department's My Tree Legacy promotion and be a part of the preservation of Jamaica land we love. Let us highlight your contribution. Submit videos or pictures of you leaving your mark. Every tree counts. Plant a tree today and keep climate change away.
April is Autism Awareness Month, and we here at the JIS want to raise your awareness about this disorder.
Slide. 1, 2, 3, go! Woo! Good job. Let's go into the play out, all right?
When she was about 6 months, I realized that she wasn't sitting up. She wasn't creeping, she wasn't making any attempts like that. As a newborn baby coming up, she didn't cry. She hardly cried and she didn't interact with me, really. She would make eye contact now and then. One of the signs of autism is that the children do not make eye contact. They tend to have sensitivity of their hand middles, their foot bottoms, and their mouths, oral sensitivity. Some of them take a long time to get used to changes, to different situations, to different persons.
Adriana would be on the moderate to severe level of the spectrum, and she also has something called global developmental delays, meaning several areas of her development are affected.
Listen to the Good job. Good job. We're going to go to your favorite place ever, to the playfield. Time to pack up, Adriana. Time to pack up.
For the child with autism, it's very difficult to move from one activity to another. Adriana has problems with those.
Well, I have to find ways to distract her, like I'll sing with her. I'll say a favorite poem or something that will distract her. I give her a toy that will distract her from what she's doing and get her interested in something else. Come, wait for your shoes. We have to put on your shoes to go to the playfield. Come here. Come this way. Come, we're going to the swing. Going to the swing.
She likes to be actually free in her environment, and so any opportunity given, she'll be running away. And as such, the shadow, very, very important in her life in order to help her to know danger and to keep her on focus.
I've been a shadow for Adriana since September 2013. I help her with her academics, self-help skills, social skills. For instance, carrying her to the playground. In all areas, I watch her for the whole day that she's at school.
She won 2 of her events in sports that just gone, and she got 2 gold medals for that. She did a flat race, 25 meter. She won that race, and we had obstacle race, and she won that race also.
Sometimes it's a happy journey, sometimes it feels easy, sometimes it feels overwhelming, like you just can't go another day, you know, but at the end of the day, as long as there's love for her, then you can find the strength. Adriana has a little sister who is like her big little sister. When Adriana should have been the one maybe helping to put baby to sleep, baby is the one helping to put Adriana to sleep. She will follow whatever Elisa does, she will listen. Her big brother, DeMarco, he's 14, going 15, and he has been, from Adriana was a baby, he wanted to change diapers. He wanted to take care of his sister, and he still does. Her daddy he's a good support too. Her dad picks her up every morning, takes her home every evening.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. I would do it every day, every day. If that child is a part of you, whichever way life turns, whichever way things turn, be there for your child. Were it not for you, that child wouldn't be here. And if every father would do the same, just be there for your child. That's the basic law of humanity. Be there for your child.
Are you over 50 years old? Have you been experiencing unexplained weight loss? Have you seen blood in your urine or have difficulty urinating? Have you noticed recently that you have no appetite, your feet are getting swollen, or you're suffering from extreme fatigue? You may just be exhibiting signs of bladder cancer. Get more on how you can screen for and eradicate the disease.
According to the World Health Organization's World Health Ranking, someone in Jamaica is more likely to lose their life from prostate cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, stomach, cervical, liver, uterine, and even ovary cancer before they'll ever go from bladder cancer. Now, the rarity of this illness drafted local statistics at 0.34% of the total number of deaths in the island in 2018. That's only 62 people. But of course, that's 62 people too many. And maybe, just possibly, 62,000 people not having ever heard of this disease until now.
So the bladder is a small muscular organ that is in the pelvis, deep down in the pelvis. Its purpose is really to store urine. Now, cancer, as has been said before, it refers to the unregulated abnormal growth of cells, and in this case it would be the bladder. So bladder cancer is unregulated growth, usually from the lining of the bladder, that is abnormal cell growth. So the signs and symptoms of bladder cancer, usually the commonest sign is usually hematuria. Now what hematuria is blood in the urine. So usually it's painless hematuria, maybe painful hematuria, which is pain along with blood in the urine. Also, there may be irritative bladder symptoms, or as we would say, storage, lower urinary tract symptoms. Some of these include urgency, frequency, going to the bathroom frequently, waking up often at nights, it's known as nocturia, and in general, some dysuria, which is like burning when you pass your urine.
Now, before you experience any of those symptoms, there are some causative factors that lead to bladder cancer that you may want to assess first. It simply means that while it happens, it's usually preventable.
The commonest causative factor for bladder cancer is cigarette smoking. It's actually associated with about 50 to 60% of bladder cancers. There are other risk factors which are known as occupational hazards. So individuals who work in the industries and have prolonged exposure to aromatic amines, aromatic hydrocarbons. So in the textile industry, painters, those who work with tar, amongst other occupational hazards, are at risk for bladder cancer. Patients who also have, for whatever reason, they'll have chronic irritation to the bladder. So there's a parasitic infestation known as schistosomiasis that's really associated with bladder cancer also. Patients who have chronic catheters, indwelling catheters, as well as bladder stones and a few other things that cause chronic irritation to the bladder.
Now, bladder cancer is very picky when it comes down to gender, with the likelihood of displaying its sprouting behavior on men more often than women. And while the data shows that you don't necessarily need to be thinking about this until you're well over your 40s, there is proof that it affects many of us who are nowhere near to collecting our pension. Wow.
The older you become is the more at risk you are. Usually not before the age of 40 that bladder cancer is seen. It's more common in the 5th to 6th decades of life. 5th, 6th, 7th decades of life. It's actually more common in men than women, and this is thought to be associated with lifestyle amongst other things. Bladder cancer is very treatable. In fact, most bladder cancers present as organ-confined disease, meaning that they're absolutely curable. The treatment options include definitely surgery. This involves what is known as a transurethral resection of the bladder to actually get diagnosis, and in some cases is curative if the tumor is completely gotten. This involves passing instruments through the urethra, which is the opening through which you pass urine from the bladder, and that allows us to see the tumor. It allows us to resect or scrape the tumor away from the bladder wall, and in some cases we may or may not give intravesical immunotherapy or chemotherapy depending on the risk of the disease. But that's usually how bladder cancer is initially treated.
So now may be a good time to just pause for a bit and think about the causes, signs, and symptoms of bladder cancer. And if you've been treated from it before, remember to get your regular checkups, because bladder cancer has a high recurrence rate. Watching from the sidelines or the confines of a bed can be a bit of a sting for some, piercing for others. So let's go stronger and healthier together by prioritizing our health.
And that's all the time we have left here on this station. Be sure to join us tomorrow for another program packaged to keep you abreast of all the positive happenings in Jamaica land we love. We're available at your leisure online. There's our website, our YouTube channel, our pages on all the major social media services, and a mobile app that's both Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.